Body positivity. We've all heard of it. We've seen the social media movement, witnessed campaigns, maybe even Googled it. But what does it actually mean? To explore this question further and delve into the world of body positivity, I've decided to enlist a range of different people to help me answer just that. Historically, what we now know as bopo originated from plus-size black women, although a quick Google search would make you think otherwise. Plus-size models like Tess Holliday are often credited with starting the body positive movement, but it long existed before then within black culture. With the popularity of social media, fat black influential women such as Lizzo have spearheaded the visibility of body positivity online. But despite their revolutionary steps in body acceptance, less and less black women feel they have the visibility they fought for due to the up-and-coming mainstream trend in body positivity. These new trendy takes on bopo often overshadow the community it was originally created for. To gain a more modern perspective on body positivity, I've decided to speak with some influencers and fat activists to find out what they think of the body positive movement.
I am Kayla Logan. I'm a body positive and mental health advocate and content creator on social media. Body positivity was originally created by Black fat femmes, and it was created as a social justice movement for plus size people, fat people, and people in marginalized bodies for things like access to healthcare and transportation and education, because fat people at its most extreme form die from the medical discrimination that they're faced and have issues with access to proper seating on transportation, like something as simple as seats on the bus or on airplanes. Every part of society is pretty much oppressive systematically towards people who are fat. So body positivity is not about being positive about your body. It stems literally from advocacy work. What we see today is this very watered down mainstream approach to it. So a lot of activists now have changed using terms like body positivity to fat liberation, in order to differentiate that, because there is still a lot of fat phobia in society. I mean, you can see it walking down the street. I mean, people have no problem telling me that I'm fat and I should die to my face. So just imagine what they say to me online. Like, death threats are very real online to fat people. People, they hate fat people. So it's very, very different than things like skinny shaming. I just want to make that clear. And that's why the movement for body positivity is so necessary. It's really to protect people's well being and to bring equality for fat people. There's something that happens a lot in the community that I think is important to address. It's called concern trolling. And people will pretend that they care about your welfare and your health. But online, what they'll do is like, oh, I'm just saying this because I want to see you be healthy. No, you don't care about my health because you didn't ask, do I work out? You didn't ask what I eat in a day. You didn't ask anything to do with my health. You just judged me for my body and then felt the need to comment on it, which I don't think anyone should be commenting on anyone's body. It's no one's business unless you're telling me how amazing I am. The fat phobia just runs so rampant in our society. And it's so sad. Like, I'm still unlearning every single day. And I don't know if I'll ever be rid of it. When I think of body positivity, I think of a space that's safe for fat people to truly be themselves and to feel liberated and to have a community and to fight for their rights. It feels like love and support, and it feels like fat activism to me, and it feels like it should be protected and it's sacred, and it's one of the only spaces where fat people are welcome. that it hasn't been 100% encroached on yet.
So, what would you say body positivity means to you and why?
I genuinely believe it saved my life. I genuinely believe this movement has saved my life in more ways than one, because it made me realise that I'm not a bad person, I'm not unworthy. I deserve love, I deserve kindness, I deserve respect. And through that movement, I've realised that I am more than a body. I'm a good friend, I'm a good sister, I'm a good daughter. And this movement has really helped me open my eyes to see everyone as more than their bodies.
After hearing these varying opinions, it got me thinking, what would medical professionals think about body positivity?
Hi, I'm Dr. Kemi Fabisiwa. I'm a doctor from London. I'm a skin focused doctor, and I've got a social media platform called Joyful Skin, where I just help to deliver happy, healthy, skin focused knowledge for everyone out there.
How do you think the rise in popularity of body positivity has impacted the medical community?
Okay, so I think in general it's been a net positive experience, and I think for me as a doctor, I will always describe health as being the ultimate beauty standard. And I think so long as we are making conscientious decisions every day to be a little bit healthier in terms of having fresh, healthy skin, strong white teeth, strong hair, no matter the texture, and of course a healthy weight, then we are all making steps every day to make ourselves more healthy and more beautiful. So I think body positivity comes into that quite nicely, in that we can make healthy choices at every step of the way, at every size, at every weight, to try and make ourselves into healthier, happier, more beautiful people.
I feel it's only fair to get a patient's perspective too. That's why I've decided to speak with a woman called Amanda Lane. Amanda's story begins at her doctor's office in California, and like most young adults in this day and age, she turned to TikTok for help.
I've been struggling with abdominal cramping for a month now, and no doctor will listen to me, so I finally got this new GI doctor that I had to fight for. And I told him that I haven't been eating because it causes pain. And he looked at me and had the audacity to say, maybe that's not such a bad thing.
You're known most for recently creating a TikTok that got quite a lot of online attention. I was wondering if you can talk about that experience a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So, um, insurance is always really hard to kind of navigate, but I finally got a GI doctor after months of having GI issues. And this doctor, I had explained to him that I was having lower abdominal cramping and I wasn't eating very much. And when I had said, hey, I'm not eating, if I am, it's very little and it's mostly like pureed apples, he exclaimed to me that maybe that was a blessing. And being like a plus size woman, I was like, wait, what did you just say? And I asked him to repeat himself. And I said, wait, I'm in pain. I'm not eating. What did you just say? And he had repeated himself in a different way and said, yeah, maybe that's not such a bad thing. And I was appalled. And I waited for him to write this prescription for what I thought was IBS at the time. And so I basically picked up my prescription and I walked out of his office, and I sat in my car and broke down. And that's when I filmed that video that had gone kind of viral. And then I marched my butt right back in there and was like, hey, you owe me an apology. This is unacceptable. And he proceeded to kind of just, brush it off like, oh, I'm just being blunt and you're just too sensitive and you just don't get my sense of humor. And I left and found a new doctor, and then was diagnosed 6 weeks later with colon cancer.
It's absolutely appalling that a doctor has let his judgment be so clouded
I was rushed into the emergency room and monitored for a couple days. I was like, oh, this kills people. Like, this is where weight stigma and the medical field will kill people, and this is how. And I'm a very vocal person, and I come from a long line of very strong women in my family, and this is something that you will never not hear me talk about forever, as long as I am on this planet.
While talking with Amanda, I couldn't help but wonder if there's such a thing as a body positive doctor.
I'm Henrietta, I'm a junior doctor in London.
So, what would you say your opinion is of the body positive movement known as health at every size?
So I'm a big believer in body positivity, and I think all kinds of body positive movements are a good thing. I believe that everyone has the right to feel beautiful and accept their body size, no matter what their size is, and their shape as well, whether you have small boobs, big boobs, everything. I think everyone should just love the body that they're in, and I feel very strongly about that. In terms of health at every size, I think that that's a great movement in terms of reducing the stigma around obesity and things like that. I think it's very helpful because nobody benefits from fat shaming, skinny shaming, things like that. That's not an effective strategy. In terms of the tagline, health at every size, obviously I'm a medical doctor, and we know that with the extremes of weight, if you're very overweight, if you're very underweight, then that does have negative health consequences. So we can't strictly say that you're healthy at every size, because we know that that's scientifically not true. But I think this movement is more about the acceptance and the positivity of the weight that you are. And then through that, if you sort of nourish your body, feed it with healthy food and exercise, then you will be healthy. And I think that's what it's more about. Obviously, for doctors, for GPs, when a patient comes to them with health problems, say they have problems related to their weight, and it's, say, diabetes, or they're getting joint problems, as a doctor, you could go both ways, and the extremes of both ways are wrong. So if a doctor starts saying, well, you're overweight, you're obese, you're killing yourself, you need to lose weight, that's not okay. That's a problem, and they shouldn't be a doctor, and they're not a good doctor if they're doing that. And then at the other end of the spectrum, if they fail to address weight when they know that all these problems can be improved by the patient losing weight, and they fail to even mention it, then that's equally sort of negligent. So what you would want is that balance, and there needs to be more doctors, more GPs that are okay with talking about weight, and they're not talking about it in a shaming way, but equally they're not just neglecting it when they know that they can improve the health consequence of the patient. So there needs to be this middle ground. That there are a lot of good doctors and GPs out there, but I know that there's bad ones either end. So in the middle ground, you want to firstly ask the patient permission. Say, is it okay if I ask you some questions about your weight? And then if they say no, then that's absolutely fine. They might not be comfortable talking about it, in which case you can say that's completely okay. If you do ever want to talk about your weight, then you can always come back to me. We can make an appointment to discuss this. Whereas if they are then open to talking about their weight, then you can start asking them questions about it, and then start giving advice if they are open to that. So I think that middle ground is really, really important. And that's also why I'm quite passionate about being a GP, because you look at everything, the health of the patient overall, and you're not just focusing on one little system, like just the heart, and ignoring everything else. You look at the patient as a whole and think, okay, how can we get you healthier, get you better overall?
My name is Dr. Caitlin Baker. I'm a doctor of clinical psychology. I specialize in health psychology, especially in women.
What would you say your opinion is of the body positive movement, particularly on social media?
I think that it's getting very muddled lately in terms of people who are not necessarily in a larger body joining the movement. I love the health at every size movement. I think in terms of medical, it is so needed because, you know, I've been body shamed and fat shamed by doctors my entire life, given diet pills at very young ages and things that I just shouldn't have been given. So I love that this is a thing now, and I hope that women have better experiences and they look up HAES doctors in their area and they're going to them, because I have my own horror stories. I've heard so many horror stories. So I think that it's a great movement. In terms of mental health, it hasn't really come over to mental health yet, because I think that with mental health, it's less judgmental to begin with. But I think it's a great movement, and I get how some people think it can be dangerous because of there's all these studies that say, you know, severe obesity, morbid obesity is absolutely unhealthy, and I would have to disagree with that. I think long term it can be, but in terms of health, size does not equate health. You cannot look at someone and determine their health. You just can't.
So, let's talk about diet culture. First off, what is it? Diet culture is the belief that people are more or less good or worthy based on the size of their body. Diet culture is also used to advertise and sell items such as weight loss teas, cleansing drinks, supplements, and fad diets. These products have all been shown to be dangerous as they promote unhealthy ways to lose weight and may even encourage disordered eating.
I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about your stance on diet culture.
Yeah, fuck it.
Perfect answer.
Diet culture almost killed me. Like, there's no if, ands, and but about it. Like, I talk to friends about this all the time, and I don't know how I'm alive from it. Like, the amount of pills I was willing to put in my body to starve myself to fit the ideal beauty standards, like, I don't know how my heart is still pumping. Like, the lengths that women go to be thin, for what?
I've been on diet since I was 9 years old. I was always a bigger child, and all my life, the only thing I've seen is about, oh yes, we need to put Alexa on diet because obviously, you know, she's bigger than the others. So, and that creates a very bad relationship between body, mind, soul versus this concept of diet. Whereas that the only thing actually you should create is actually a healthy food for your healthy body. And being body positive is showing at all weights, all size, all height, all whatever, that we can all look amazing and be praised for what we are. That is what is the most important for me in body positivity.
The diet industry is literally just a money-making machine, right?
Yeah.
They profit off of people and take advantage of people who are so desperate to lose weight. And the reason that they're desperate is because our society is constantly sending them all these messages saying, you are not worth anything unless you are thin. And it is so damaging as a young child. I remember commercials when I was growing up of like weight loss transformation, but I remember being a kid and saying like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I have that transformation. That's messed up as a kid, like thinking that.
So when I was 15, I developed bulimia, had that for 4 years. And then when I was 18, I kind of switched to binge eating disorder, which I'm still working on today. I think if you don't get help for bulimia, you do end up with binge eating disorder. It's quite common. There's a stigma behind binge eating disorder because people presume that you're just greedy and that you just like to eat. But it's more than that. It's almost like it's emotional eating for me. When I'm feeling really sad, having a bad day, I'll just eat to fill this void inside me. But luckily I'm on the right steps to eating more healthier choices, I'd say.
For me, there are kind of a few layers to my body positive journey. When I was in my early 20s, I suffered with an eating disorder, and And even though I made a full recovery from that eating disorder, it had a really, really detrimental effect on the way I saw my own body for a very, very long time. And then being a woman with a disability, growing up, especially when I became a teenager, it was really hard to see my disability as anything other than weird, and to an extent quite ugly. In terms of my body image, I have good days, I have bad days, everybody does, but it's important for me to recognise that those feelings of security and insecurity, perfectly normal. My body is where it's meant to be at this point in time, and it doesn't stop me from being a complete and total badass.
It was while talking with these women I noticed a striking correlation. It seems that the majority of women I've interviewed so far have experienced body shaming at some point in their life, and also gone on to develop some kind of disordered eating. Eating disorders are usually characterized by an unhealthy relationship towards food, often using it to cope with emotions and/or situations. Chatting with all of these interesting people reminds me of the amazing women who took part in my We Are Women shoot back in 2019. This project aimed to showcase all different kinds of women and to combat negative body image. Throughout this project, I've met so many incredible women on their own body positive journeys, who really encouraged me to explore my own too. These women consisted of all different backgrounds, sizes, races, abilities, disabilities, and sexualities. Looking back on this photo series, I can see how empowering it is to fully accept yourself as you are and even celebrate that. This journey has really opened my eyes to the world of body positivity and introduced me to so many interesting people. I'm so happy I was able to find the insight I was looking for and explore this community further. But I'm also sad to discover that so many other women experience these body image issues. I now have a much better understanding of this online safe space, as well as the pitfalls too. Turns out, body shaming is quite a damaging type of bullying, often with dire consequences. Diet culture isn't all it's cracked up to be, and eating disorders are a lot more common than we think. On a positive note, there's now a whole community built around body positivity, dedicated to accepting what society once deemed unacceptable. We have a place. We just need to work on making that place even more mainstream. Over the course of this project, I've unearthed a few different meanings of these words, ranging from self-neutrality, self-acceptance, and even self-liberation. All of these definitions have one thing in common: self. Body positivity is whatever you need it to be for you. Each person's body positive journey is different. For some, it may take years to reach a stage of self-acceptance, and for others, it can take just a few months to develop their bopo mindset. From what I've learned, I can see that no one's journey ever really ends. You just keep evolving into a more body positive version of yourself. I think we can all learn a little something from this inspiring community. Why not take the first step today in your own body positive journey? We could all benefit from being kinder to ourselves and actually start accepting the body we're in.